If you're a fellow ENTP or INTP personality type, I'm guessing that you really struggle with keeping promises to yourself. This can be the phenomenon of just one more turn if you're playing a game, or just 5 more minutes. If you're watching a show or whatever it is, or just one more cookie, right? We're really easy, we're really good at debating ourselves, right? Coming up with arguments for why we should be allowed to do something, why we should be able to have 5 more minutes or one more cookie or whatever it is, because we are so able to think of the best argument to make that sounds plausible, that sounds like it gives us, it's a reasonable reason to give us permission to stay up later or eat that junk food or forego the thing that we don't want to do. Right? So today I want to suggest how you can use that to your advantage to force yourself to actually do the things that are important and live the way that you want to live. So I'm going to offer you one core approach and then 3 specific tips. So the core approach is to use your ability to debate and come up with powerful arguments against yourself. So the key to this is you want to do this in advance. So you're not going to try to find the winning argument if you are there, an hour into playing your video game and, you think, oh, I should probably stop. That is not when you're going to come up with the best winning argument. So you need to come up with a good argument before you even start playing your game. So you need to think, okay, if I'm committing to spending only an hour gaming, what is going to be the most effective argument to that version of Michael, or you, wherever you are, right? An hour into gaming when I'm thinking just 5 more minutes. Just one more area, just one more round, whatever it is. What is going to be the most effective argument, right? So for me, I often don't want to work out. So in advance, I try to think, the day before, tomorrow is my workout day. So when I don't want to work out, what am I going to tell myself? So I might think about, a friend that I know who is 10 years older than me, who's in the best shape of his life, and he feels amazing. He's so productive. And then I might compare it to another person I know who is older and who is struggling all the time and, in pain all the time. And I might think in that moment, okay, which person do I want to become? All right. That's why working out is important to me, or whatever your reason is. So you can try that. Hopefully, if you can come up with a really compelling argument, then that'll work. But here are some 3 specific tips that might help when that's tricky. So the first one is try to imagine that someone else is watching you. So you might think, okay, if they watched me eat one cookie, they would think, okay, that's reasonable. If they watch me eating the whole bag of cookies, maybe I would be a little embarrassed. Or if they watched me gaming for 1 hour, they might think, cool, you're having fun. But if they watched me game for 6 hours, they might think, ooh, I don't know about that. So this is a tricky one because you don't want to be shaming yourself. But hopefully you can imagine someone who you love, someone who cares about you, that they are watching you lovingly. And so they're not going to be like, kind of like an angry version of Santa Claus or, whatever it is. It's like, oh, you've been naughty, you're bad. But more just they care about you. So they're watching you saying, oh, I want what's best for you. Number 2 is think about the opportunity cost. So if you think, okay, I know that tomorrow morning I want to go to this event feeling refreshed and good, and so if I choose to stay up late tonight, I can set an alarm for myself to go to bed. Like, okay, I want to be reading or playing a game or watching videos or whatever it is for no more than an hour. So I'm going to set an alarm for an hour from now. And then when that dings, I need to remind myself my goal is to wake up refreshed, to go to this event, try to really imagine for a moment how it's going to feel to go to that thing refreshed, and then imagine how will it feel to go to that thing groggy, tired, right? So what would I be missing out on by making this choice, making the bad choice here, right? For me, I often know from a lot of experience that my most productive time is in the morning. So if I want to do something like writing, I know that if I miss that window, I'm not going to be nearly as productive if I try to do it later in the day. So that really is a precious time. So I try to remind myself the night before, I need to get to bed because the morning time is precious for me, and I don't want to lose that. Number 3, so this is the most powerful one. You can rely on debating yourself, rely on these tricks, these arguments to some degree, but the most powerful one is going to be a shift in identity. It's going to be how you see yourself. Instead of seeing yourself as I'm someone who procrastinates, I'm someone who plays as many video games as I like, watches as much porn as I like, whatever your thing is that you want to change, you start to think of a new identity for yourself. I am someone who keeps promises to myself. I am someone who only plays video games in moderation. Whatever it is you want to change, right? And think of it that when you receive a stimulus, like a desire to do something, a desire for pleasure, there's kind of the old familiar neural pathway that you typically go down, but then there's this new neural pathway that you're slowly building over time. And so every time you make a choice to go down the new neural pathway, you're slowly strengthening it. James Clear in Atomic Habits says, think of it as there are kind of 2 ballot boxes, and every time you're casting a vote for the old version of you or the new version of you, and whichever one gets the most votes will eventually win. So you might spend some time thinking, how would I define this new identity, this new version of myself who actually does this thing or doesn't do this thing? And then you can, if you have a meditation practice, every day you can spend just a small portion of it just imagining I'm embodying that new identity. What does it feel like to be that new version of me? And then you could put a sticky note on your monitor, or if you're setting an alarm or a calendar reminder for, I only want to be doing this thing for a certain amount of time, then have it pop up with a reminder that says, remember, new identity. What would this person do? What would this version of you do? You could pick some famous person or some role model, someone you admire who has that quality that you want, and you ask yourself, what would they do? Right? Hope that helps, and wish you a nourishing day.